welcome to the second episode of Rational Reality. Today we're joined by Gary Scotto, Managing Director of Ensign Mortgages and Investments Limited. Thank you, Gary, for joining us today. Ensign are one of our recommended financial advisors for our Rufford Pastures development just up the road in Edwinstowe. It's been a few weeks now since the Housing Secretary effectively sort of rebooted the market, which has allowed people to start looking at house sales or moving house or consider buying, as long as they're following the social distancing advice, of course, which is still very important. So government figures suggested that close to 500,000 buyers or renters were having to put the plans that they got around moving house on hold throughout the lockdown. And we've heard from a lot of customers that it's really given them some chance to reflect on what they want from a house, particularly when you've been spending so much time locked up inside there. So we want to find out what the reality of the market is at the moment, and that's why Gary's joined us today. So Gary, I understand Ensign, you have around about 30 years experience in this market. So what's changed since mid-May from when the announcement came from your point of view?
Okay, well, first of all, thanks very much for inviting me here. Yes, we have got 30 years experience in new build, and we've been through this before. We had the credit crunch back in 2009. This is by far, in some ways, not as bad, because what happened in the credit crunch, the lenders stopped trusting each other, so there was no money available to lend at all. So that was impacting on top of everything else. This time round, lenders backed off slightly, but they're back in the market again now. Construction's obviously returned to work, as you know. New build surveys are now being treated as a priority because they're seen as a lower risk than entering an occupied property, because a new build property is empty. So it's seen as being a safer proposition for a surveyor. So some surveys are taking a bit longer to get organised than previously. Mainly because surveyors are having to work hard to clear the backlog of valuations for when they couldn't enter properties. Surveyors have been given government guidelines in respect of PPE that they should use, so it's all being done in a very safe and within the rules manner. In terms of other change to the housing market, we did see lenders retreat from the higher loan to values and cancel some of those products, but now they're coming back again. And there's quite a lot of products coming on the market now at 85 and 90%. Right. And we're back on board with Help to Buy with a 5% deposit again.
So in terms of that sort of loan to value creeping back up, and obviously interest rates being pretty much bare minimum, from your point of view, is it a good time to invest in a property if you're a first time buyer?
Yeah. So going back to first-time buyers, yeah, it's a great time for first-time buyers because the interest rates have come right down. The bank base rate is at the lowest ever it's been, 0.1%. And in turn, that's brought interest rates down, fixed rates are coming down, so the cost of borrowing has reduced dramatically. And first-time buyers can get on the market at 5%. They've still got Help to Buy. Help to Buy is going to continue beyond April next year. So, yeah, it's a good time for them.
And we've actually seen quite a bit of kind of the release of pent-up demand whilst lockdown's been in place. We've noticed a kind of flurry of inquiries coming in. We've put something in place that allows people to come and see the show home via a booking system, so they've still got the social distancing aspect. And I think it's great that we've seen it, but what's the demand been like for mortgage applications, and how long do you think that will go on for?
Okay, mortgage applications. So the lenders are coping quite well. They're all coming back to work now. They're ramping up their service levels as demand increases, because it is, as construction's opened and marketing suites are opening, there's a lot of serious buyers out there, and that's creating quite a lot of demand on mortgage applications. And we're quite close to the levels we were prior to lockdown already.
Right. Okay. So has it sort of impacted the process from your point of view in terms of social distancing? Obviously, from from the show home perspective, we've had to kind of put a number of measures in place, including cleaning measures and changing how the sales office operates. Has it changed anything from your point of view in terms of how you go through the process?
Not massively, no, Tom. It's because we've always offered FaceTime, WhatsApp, and all these different ways, Zoom, of having a meeting, because people are very, very busy and they quite like to drop onto a video conference. So it's always been an option, but now it's not so much an option; it's the norm.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to matter what age people are; they all seem to be quite comfortable with it. We've got a lot of choices of how you can go onto a video conference, so most people can do it quite easily.
Yeah, I think it's made a huge difference in terms of, well, obviously not just purchasing houses, but how everyone's kind of working from home more generally. And one of the things that we picked up on was that in a piece of research recently from Barclays, there was a feeling that under 30s were on average spending £500 less because they weren't able to go out and about and do the things that they might have been doing before lockdown, which meant that that particular age group savings could have risen by as much as 10%. So I suppose it's kind of going back to that. Has there ever been a better time? I suppose some people are going to be cautious because they worry that maybe there's still the potential that the market will slide. Other people, as we mentioned earlier, will be looking as those loan to values, especially come up and the interest stay low, will be thinking it's the best time. What's your thought around that?
Well, I think to try and time something perfectly is always very difficult in any market. Um, but first-time buyers certainly I know because first-time buyers. My son's a first-time buyer. He's in the age group of 25 to 30, and I know he and a lot of his friends, because they can't go out and do all the things they used to, they are managing to save quite well. And there's a great opportunity for them to go out there and get on the property ladder with only 5%. Um, with the knowledge that house prices are always going to improve. They might get the odd little blip here and there, small correction here and there, but generally they always go higher. So it's a very good time for anybody really, as well as first-time buyers.
Excellent. I mean, the other thing you mentioned, I think earlier, was around the Help to Buy scheme. Can you tell us a bit more about that and what the impact's been on that?
Yeah, we're not aware of any change to it. It's Help to Buy is going to continue beyond March next year for first-time buyers, and prior to lockdown, it wasn't going to continue for second-time buyers after March 2021. But we feel there may be some scope with what's happened unexpectedly that maybe there may be an extension with second-time buyers or something available for them as well.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time, Gary. And I think there's a lot of things for people to consider off the back of that, including whether it's the right time for them. I mean, one thing that I must say is that it's always important for anyone that's taking a decision, whether to go out and buy a new home or whether to move home, to seek their own independent financial advice. You can always follow Gary and myself on LinkedIn. We're both on there. And as I've said before, keep an eye out for the next episode of Rational Reality. If you've got any ideas about things you might want to cover as a subject, or you might want to get involved, please do get in touch, either via LinkedIn or through email to twoodhead@woodhead-group.co.uk. And in the meantime, I just encourage you to share the podcast. And if you're sharing it on social media, if you can use the hashtag WoodheadRR in the post. And once again, Gary, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tom.